It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, folks, today we're going to jump in that gigantic sharp interactive board. I want to share my thoughts regarding Brother's first quarter. I got to start out by asking a question. Did Brother squander their one-time advantage with the Workhorse series? Brother, what the hell are you doing? I was so excited about that Workhorse series. I remember, folks, having pictures of all those Workhorse MFPs spread across the gigantic sharp interactive board. I was cheering Brother on. Go get him! I mean, I remember one time I showed a slide comparing Brother to Konica Minolta, and people were like, Ray, what are you, crazy? You can't compare Brother to Konica Minolta. And I said, oh, yeah, you can. And what I was comparing is the Brother print business compared to Konica Minolta's digital workplace print business. Their MFP and print business within the digital workplace. They do the same amount of revenue as Brother. I mean, and I'm like, Brother, the difference between you and Konica is, well, you're profitable and Konica's not. I mean, Konica's been a train wreck financial mess for how many years? And I was telling Brother, look, you could go and wipe out those Konica Minolta A3s, come up with a strategy and go fight the weakest one in the room, which would be Konica. And then I was saying, you got to be like Ray Kroc. You got to get the garden hose and shove it down Konica Minolta's throat, turn on the spigot, take advantage of them. But are they? And then we see that, you know, Brother wants to do a deal with Rico. Rico, sell our Workhorse for us. I mean, Brother, are you betting on Rico? Come on, Rico. I mean, Rico, you know, the more I think about this, maybe there's a strategy here because, you know, I don't know if Brother can think this strategically, but we all know that Rico has like zero pride in operating profit themselves. I mean, seriously, they're out there bragging that they doubled their operating profit from the first quarter of FY 2024. Well, the first quarter of FY 2024, Rico had a 1.1% operating profit. First quarter of 2025, they had a 2.1 or 2.2. Yeah, that's something to brag about. But maybe Brother's thinking that Rico will give the machines away, because if they don't really care about profit, that could help Brother. You know, I mean, are we going to see some marketing out there from Rico? If you buy 3 A3 MFPs from Rico, you get not only 1 free sorter, but 2 Brother Workhorse A4 MFPs. Ladies and gentlemen, let's jump on the board. I want to share some thoughts regarding Brother's numbers. I want to start out with this slide. Brother, it's not your parent SOHO anymore. You know, the SO means something completely different. And it needs to mean scaling optimization for you, Brother. Because I think Brother really sees themselves as a small office player. I think that's how they grew up, and that's how they see themselves still. But, Brother, it's about big, gigantic offices like this with that Workhorse A4 all through them, right? It's about wiping out those A3s and putting that Workhorse A4 in there. So quit seeing yourself as a small office player. You can play in any size office, but you got to play to win. And in order to play to win, you got to fight. You're not going to manage your way through a disruption. You know, folks, you A4 players have to think like the inkjet players, okay? It's not about fitting in. It's about making the legacy way fit in with you, the disruptor, the new way. Folks, let's look at some numbers. Top line revenue for their first quarter was $1.4 billion. They had an operating profit of 7.5% or $108.3 million. Let's look at the print business. Printing and Solutions, $895.4 million top line revenue, operating profit of $86.7 million, 9.7%. Their industrial printing, $218.6 million top line revenue, operating profit of $4.1 million or 1.9%. You put them both together, the operating profit is $90.8 million or 8.2%. It is the printing business. And Brother, they need to come together in the operating profit. And what dragged it down was the industrial printing. Industrial printing had a $4.1 million operating profit on $218.6 million in top line revenue. It's only 1.9%. And when I saw that, I'm thinking, okay, Brother, I know you had some meetings with Rico. Surely you're not allowing Rico to help you out with operating profit, are you? Because that would be disastrous. You know, stick to your own core disciplines. You don't need Rico's influence in your operating profit. But folks, you know, when I talk about Brother's industrial printing, and I brought it up before, you know, their top line revenue literally crushes the top line revenue of both Rico and Konica in industrial print. I keep asking both of those players why they're even doing it. But, you know, Brother, $218.6 million for their first quarter. You know, they're going to be probably over $900 million for the year in industrial print. Both Konica Minolta and Rico are going to settle in probably under $300 million. And so I would just warn, Brother, it's nice to grow that top line revenue. It's nice to get some momentum in the market in the industrial print space. but you got to do it profitably. But brother, what you really got to do is you got to build a war chest of profitability. And you can make profit in your printing solutions business. You just got to get more of it. You gotta go out there and fight and get this revenue. Because along with the revenue, every time you replace an A3 with an A4 MFP, not only are you getting revenue, but you're getting a decent operating profit because you know how to do that. But you got to do it, and you got to do it big. Build that war chest so you can use those dollars to do other things, or yens. When you look at the business overall for Brother, and I ask, who is Brother? And then do they even know? I mean, I know they want to do other things. I know they're looking past the horizon, what's coming next. But brother, what's coming next will come a lot easier if you take advantage of what you could get right now. I mean, your print business right now is 80% of your total revenue for the company and 84% of your total operating profit. You need to figure out how to fight like you've never fought before for this print business. And quit messing around with it. Quit trying to manage your way through a disruption. It's never going to happen. If you look at the communications and printing business, it's $780.3 million. If you look at the labeling business, it's $115 million. But folks, when I'm looking at the printing solutions business for their first quarter, I'm noticing right off the bat that the operating profit margin is down by 23% from where it was in FY 2024 first quarter. And we all know that we're having pressures, tariffs and all these things, right? But at the end of the day, brother, don't wait till it's too late. Don't depend on Rico. You got to depend on yourself and go fight. When I look at their industrial printing business, we have the same issue with the decrease in operating profit percentage, but the margin's down over 72% if you compare it to where it was the first quarter of FY 2024. This is important. And so, you can get all this industrial print business you want, but don't do it at the cost of all your profitability. And we know that your industrial print business has given you issues. We've seen some pretty big impairment charges over the years. So, what if you would focus more on what you can do that's pretty easy? And what you could do that's pretty damn easy is wiping out A3 machines. I want to show this slide. This was part of that Xerox slide. I showed it when I talked about Xerox buying Lexmark. And could you imagine if Brother would have bought Lexmark? I mean, think about it. That would have been bold. That would have been strategic. That would have been a big home run for Brother. When Lexmark was in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party, and got banned by the Department of Homeland Security. Remember that? 9-star company. What a terrible company. Getting banned over forced enslaved labor. And, folks were saying, I'm not going to buy from Lexmark. I don't care if they weren't on the ban list. They're owned by 9-star, the communist company that got banned. And they started buying from Brother. There was some momentum. I mean, I heard from some dealers. Ray, we just want to let you know we bought a whole lot of stuff from Brother that we once bought from Lexmark. And, you blew it, brother. So Xerox goes out and buys Lexmark. They're the largest dealer footprint in the world. And then you're hoping that you're going to get Rico to put your workhorse in the market. What if you would have went to Xerox and said, hey, don't buy Lexmark. Let's partner with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to start strategically looking at our distribution at street level. And the OEMs have got to start figuring out how they're going to play in a whole different way. There has to be more strategy going on in Japan than what I'm seeing. So I want to wrap it up with this slide again. It's not your parent SOHO anymore, brother. The SO means something completely different. Scaling optimization. Brother, you're not going to manage your way through a damn disruption. You're going to have to fight for it. You have a great opportunity, but it's leaving quickly. And sooner or later, every OEM on the planet is going to have A4, and they're going to be really robust at it. Kyocera's out there really kicking some butt with their A4 line. I believe Kyocera will probably be the first OEM that's laser-based for the most part that'll bring inkjet to the business space like they did in the production space with that Task Alpha C. I think Brother should have brought ink into the A4 space. But folks, at the end of the day, the thing I got to say, and say really loud, is status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.